Yeah, the sticker guy's a bit sketchy.
Yes, pretty sketchy.
You trust this guy?
He
like-
usually puts them on crooked, as you can see.
Oh. Well, I would imagine you're a little bit of a perfectionist guy, Forbrook. Would I be incorrect in saying that?
Well, maybe a little. I don't know if I'm a real lot, but maybe a little, yeah. When it comes to my race car, I probably am.
Yeah. The amount of times I've seen you do that on either side of the car, it's like you need to be... You do it, I'm not even sure you know you do it, but you always got your hand on this car, on the left rear or on the right rear. It's almost like you need to be connected to it. Is that a strange thing to say?
I'm just always thinking. And I mean, when I come to these places, I always come to win. And then now when I put a 20-year-old kid in the car that's never really been here, I'm definitely thinking.
Especially when it's your 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, that too. I mean, yeah. I mean, I kind of blocked some of that out because it is my 20-year-old kid out there riding around. So, but I told Kerry Madsen about a month ago, I said, you know, of all the times I've been here, I've never really was that nervous. But maybe a little bit now.
Yeah. So how long does it take you to get here from your home?
6 hours.
So that's a lot of thinking time, particularly when you're going home. You must have had some euphoric nights where that trip felt like it was an hour, and other nights when it felt like it was 2 days.
Well, when I was younger, I used to drive home right away that night. When now, as I get older, I stay and then I drive back the next morning.
Either way, though, your brain, if you're a thinking all the time guy, you're thinking all the time about what did we do wrong, could we do better.
Motors, cars, motors, cars, motors, cars. That's what I think about.
How long have you been doing this for now?
A little over 40 years.
In all that time, have you ever run into a wrecker or anything like that at Huset's?
No, Rock Rapids, Iowa.
Right. What happened there? Some guy down there that maybe works on a Casey's car might have told me about that one.
Really?
Yeah.
The same guy that spun out on the yellow leading the race? That would be that guy, probably. Actually, I was driving. They were pushing me off, and this other guy pushed off a car in front of me with a wrecker, and he stopped and put it reverse when I was going by, and the top part of the wrecker ran into my top wing and ripped it right off.
Ooh. Have you ever thought you'd won a race, pulled in on the white flag?
The same guy told you that story too.
Well, I don't know that. I couldn't name my sources.
That was the same night that he spun out on a yellow flag leading, and I'm running second, and I'm like, who in the heck is this hillbilly? So, but it's the same guy. Yeah. That was at Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1985.
I'm just going to say it was some dude told me that.
Yeah,
right?
I'm pretty sure that's who it was.
Yeah. How old were you when you started racing?
Well, it depends on what we're going to be racing. Snowmobiles, cars, anywhere from, I started at 15 on a snowmobile.
Wow.
And then I went to a race, and one of my friends that were way older than me signed my name, or my dad's name, and I started racing. And I never even told my mom and dad at that time.
Oh.
And then the next year when I was 16, I'd won the World Series in Canada and crossed the border.
Wow.
With a note.
World Series of snowmobiling?
Yeah. I crossed the border in 1980 it would have been.
Yeah.
With a note from my mom and dad saying I could race. That's how I crossed the border.
Did you forge that, or was that really
No, my mom and dad knew I was going to Canada.
Wow.
The town actually sponsored me to go to Canada to that race.
Well, what was snowmobiling like?
Well, I mean, back then snowmobiling was a lot different than it is now. I mean, it was more country, now it's like a luxury machine that they go in the mountains and ride. It's not like road ditch riding anymore. It's not oval ice racing anymore. There used to be 10,000 people at a race back then. 10,000. And and roads crossed. You had guys like Dick Trickle back then. They were driving snowmobiles. And
really?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of them ASA guys that raced snowmobiles. Unsers, they raced them. Bobby and Al both raced snowmobiles.
Holy cow.
So, but it was, if you were a racer, you raced anything back then.
Absolutely. So when did the sprint car itch become a thing?
Well, I went to college for a couple of years, and then I came home and I couldn't afford to buy a sprint car. Mm-hmm. So I went and met with two retired farmers, older farmers, at a bar. I met them, and I had them talk them into co-signing a note with me. So they co-signed the note. I went to the bank, borrowed $10,000, and went and bought my first car from a guy by the name of Jerry Franson in Windham, Minnesota.
Wow.
And then built my own motor.
So complete car, or was it a roller?
No, I was a roller with 2 extra spare tires and rims, and then I built my own motor for it.
No way.
Yeah. Yep.
Seems like anymore that doesn't happen like that.
No. I mean, that's what I was telling you. I mean, the farm boy or the city small town boy is really can't afford to get back in this anymore because it's getting too crazy as far as money wise. You know, just coming here is $700 round trip in diesel fuel.
Yep.
And then you got $600 worth of tires, and then you got the methanol. So just to start this thing, it's a couple thousand easy. You know, and that's not freshening the motor. So if you add all that up, it's about $4,000 a night for a 410 to start it up.
How long did you race for?
I got the race for about a year and a half.
Oh, it's not a long time, is it?
No.
I said to Danny, that guy, what was he like as a racer? And he said you were a wild man. You were up on the wheel and you knew where the bottom of the throttle was in that short time. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah. First time I came here, I set a new track record. Never drove a 410.
Wow.
And was running 3rd in the race and knocked the front axle out of it with like 4 laps to go. I bumped the guy that was running 3rd at the time, or 2nd at the time.
Yeah.
And then I came back the next time with Leonard McCarl and set fast time and ran 2nd. And then I came back the 3rd time and I just about hit high V.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So
I heard you put the wing over the fence and everything.
Yeah, that was indigenous. So,
wow.
But I mean, I was young.
Yeah.
I'd only raced 13 times in my life when I came here, and the last race I ever ran, I won. Was at Huset's.
That's cool to look back on.
Yeah, 1986.
How long was it from your crash to when you got back into the sport of sprint car racing, Guy? Did it take some time for you to get mentally prepared to do that, or did you always have the hunger to somehow do it?
No, I didn't ever want to go back. Honestly, I was my heart, my guts, everything was ripped out of me. All I wanted to ever be was a driver, and I went there the first year to the hospital, and then I did that, and then I signed up for some research work, and I did that for about a little over a year and a half, and then I was still doing research work and just kind of getting my head wrapped around life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the guy that I drove for, that I was going to drive for, that I never got to drive for, was Ron Coles, that had a 5 car. And the week that I was supposed to start driving, that was when I had the car accident.
Yeah.
So we were always really good friends, and he called me one night and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come check out my car at Huset's. I'm trying to think about making a change. Would you be interested in taking a look at it?" And I said, "No, absolutely no." He said he called me like 3 times that week. So I came home from Minneapolis, which is 120 miles to my home, and then 120 miles to Huset's. And I came back, and we went there and watched the car race. And then he asked me what I thought, and I told him what I thought. And then 2 days later, he calls me up and he says, "Well, all right, I did what you wanted to do." He said, "So go pick it all up, start working on it." And I said,
there was a plan.
I said, "I'm not going to work on it. I'm not interested." And he kept on me and kept on me. And so I did finally give in and say, "All right, I'll go try it at Huset's." And we put Amy's brother, Jerry Riker Jr. in the car.
Yep.
And we won the first night. And we won the second night. And that guy you're talking about was calling me about driving it. But see, when he seen a guy in a wheelchair with a whole new team, he wasn't really too sure he really wanted to drive it yet. Now he'd have to admit it, but that's really what the story was at first.
Yep.
And then we started winning, and then he starts calling, you know. And so we took him to Huset's, and we ran about 7th. It's to say he was a big track racer and not a short track racer at the time.
Yep.
So then we brought Riker back and we won again, and we bring him back and we ran like 4th, and it took almost till the end of the summer until we started getting going. And then we won Cheaters Day that year at the end of the year, and that's basically how it all started with all that stuff. That built our own motors then yet at the time. We came here, probably the biggest thing that we'd ever done out of all these years is that in 1988, when that happened, when I came back, I bought an aluminum motor from a guy by the name of John Stevenson, which was from around here, and stripped it. Took it to a buddy's shop of mine. Had a couple farm boys with me. We stripped it, sold the heads off it, bought some different heads, changed the cam and all that. Came to the gate here at the Knoxville Nationals. Never met Rick Unger in my life. And we made the A main of the Knoxville Nationals with like 250 cars, and he ran about 17th, but it didn't matter. We made the A main with a car that I promise you we did not have a spare front end or rear end. We were lucky to have a spare wheel. And that's how it all got started. And that aluminum motor that we put in there that we built is what won Cheaters Day. And that's basically how this all got started. But it got started with a bunch of farm boys that just worked. That's all we did. We didn't have 10 cents to our name, but we just did what we had to do, you know?
Wow. That's what I love about this sport, Guy. You can do that stuff. Well, you certainly could.
Yeah.
Whether you can anymore. How do you go accessibility-wise with this car, with doing what you do at this ground level? Is there much that you can't do on this car, or have you worked out ways that you never thought you could get to, or parts you couldn't get to before to do that?
Well, when I was younger, I used to jump down on the ground and change gears and all that kind of stuff. I don't usually jump down there anymore unless I have to.
Yep.
But I mean, I run around on a four-wheeler just like anybody else, and do my thing. So it's a lot easier than a fender car for me. Trust me. If I had to work on a fender car, I'd be in big trouble.
Yeah.
I'd never get to the motor.
Because I was going to say, because you got that accessibility point with that. Does that kid know what he's doing? Now you've got him on the right front corner. Like, he was doing the stickers before, and does he know? I'm worried.
We taught him the numbers on the torque wrench here about 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want him to be cold trickle, right? You need him to know this whole deal inside out.
That's kind of how we're starting this.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. After all these years of racing around here, Guy, is this still a special place to you?
It still is. I mean, this is basically home because of all the people that work here and all the fans that you've met over the years and all the good times you've had here. Coming here is like coming home.
Yeah.
You know, all the time. And even though it's 6 hours from my door, we basically were here every Saturday night for a lot of years, you know. And I came here the first time in 1969 when my dad raced here. And I've been riding down here since 1969. You know, I've seen everybody you can name race here. And I've seen about every one of them that won here, from Opperman to Levitt to Blackett to Little Joe Saldana, Joey's dad. I was here for all of them, you know. So I was here for the first 22nd lap, and Little Joe set the track record with the first guy ever to get under 20 seconds that time. It was like 1904 is what he ran that year, and that would have been 1970.
What do you think?
So, and then the funniest thing is, in 1974, I was in the stands by myself. I was 12, and off of turn one, you hear all these people screaming and hollering, and it started getting closer and closer, and I was in the middle of the front stretch. So I stood up on the bleachers. I'm like, what is going on here? In 1974, the country had an epidemic of streakers.
Oh no, what? An epidemic of streakers?
That's all. They were everywhere that year. I don't know why, but we had two jump over the fence in turn one. Back then, they lined up all the cars on the front straightaway, and they ran down the center of all 24 cars and jumped over turn four fence. Two guys in 1974.
So that takes balls.
Yeah, it was
literally.
definitely balls. And then on the last lap, Dick Gaines passed Jan Opperman off of turn four for Carl Kenzer's first Nationals win.
Wow.
So I was 12.
You got it bad, right?
I do. I got it bad. When I can remember all this stuff, then yeah, you know. So
It might sound like a bit of a dramatic thing to say, Guy, but in a lot of ways, did racing save you a little bit? Like, because who knows, if you didn't have that focus at that point after the accident, did it give you a purpose?
Oh, I mean, honestly, after I kind of figured out where life was going to go and what I was going to do, I'm not going to lie to you, I was scared as hell.
Yeah.
You know, so I was 21 years old, and all I planned on being was a race car driver, and that's all I signed up for, and that went out the window in a matter of seconds. So I didn't even know which direction life was going to go at that time. And it did, I mean, because it gave me more focus as I went along as far as what I was going to do. And then, honestly, probably more focus, because then as competitive as I was, then I started focusing, instead of just driving it, then I started focusing on motors and stuff like that. And
Yeah, learning it. Yep.
I know motors from one end to the other. I've built motors since them days, and I still do motors, and I still do cars. And we did our, like back then when everybody was running Maxim or Gamblers or whatever, we were doing American Challenge cars that were built right here in Des Moines, you know, and we were winning races everywhere in the country with them cars, and they built right out of a small little shop, you know. And the big thing is, though, we had Al Cole with us. That was the guy that took care of our engines at the time with Ron when we first started. But then the other thing is we had Earl Gertie, and me and Earl got together pretty good. And at the end of the day, it's called motorsports for a reason. And if you got thunder, then you got a lot going for you, you know. So we always did with Earl, with Gertie's. We always had good motors, good horsepower. I'll guarantee you, in the year, all the years that Danny raced with us, or Jack, or Johnny, I bet you we changed a motor like 4 times ever from all them years of something that would have been like a burnt piston or a broken valve or something like that, you know. So we had really good luck with Earl Gertie.
So go all those years back where you're wondering what you're going to do with your life and you didn't want to touch a race car, you want to be around them. You fast forward, here you are racing with your kid at Knoxville. All those track championships later, all those incredible nationals experiences, all the victories.
Championship with Steve.
Like, wow. And if someone had tapped you on the shoulder and said, don't worry, guy, in 30 years' time, you'd be talking to some strange Aussie in the infield at Knoxville with your kid racing your 5 car, would you have said they were crazy?
Well, I mean, we started racing go-karts with him at 6, so we did a lot of things that way. And I'm going to tell you, there was a few jobs that I left because people didn't want me to race go-karts on a Friday night or Saturday night. And at the end of the day, the road was starting to wear me out, being who I was and physical and all that kind of stuff. I just decided that if I couldn't do that, I would start doing other things. So I actually just came home to do stuff like that and start racing with him and to see where it goes. And we've had father and son deal. We've had our ups and downs. We've done our things, and he went to school and fell in love. We went through all the stuff already, you know. And but at the end of the day, if you're still standing at the end, I guess you fought your way through it.